meeting of the Kiwanis Club to the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. We have 40 participants joining us this evening, and I'm sure others will join shortly. But to do the official welcome, I'm going to call on our President-elect Junior to do so.
Thank you, President Paul. Good evening to all our Kiwanians and guests that are online with us now. We welcome our very special guest this evening, Mr. John Jackson, friend of mine, who will be sharing with us the Jamaican stock market and opportunities that are being missed. We will now give you the opportunity to bring greetings from your respective clubs. And therefore, we'll start from those clubs that are overseas, out of the island. So, overseas, out of the island. So, yeah. Could we get from those Kiwanians that are overseas? Are you hearing me?
Yes, P. Junior, we're hearing you clearly.
Okay, good.
We're hearing a kind of an echo though.
Yes, I'm hearing the echo too. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Let us see if that disappears in time. Mr. Jackson, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
All right. Those Kiwanians from overseas, would you like to bring greetings now? If not, we'll move to Division 5. Any Kiwanian from Division 5 that would like to bring greetings at this point from their clubs?
25.
25, sorry. 25. 24. Clubs from 24 that would like to bring greetings at this point. 23. West.
Good evening, I'm PE Junior. I bring you greetings from all the members of the Kiwanis Club of South St. Catherine. With me this evening are LGD Pauline, DP Weaver, Director Mazeline, PD Cadian, and I am President Althea. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, President Althea, and thank you for coming. Division 25 West. 25 West. If not, we'll move to 23. I keep mixing it up. 23 okay. West. If not, we'll move to 23 West.
We have 23 East online as well.
23 East.
Okay.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, I bring greetings on behalf of Kiwanis Club of Downtown Kingston.
Yes.
We look tonight with me. I have Kiwanian Krishna, DP Stefan. I also have Kiwanian DeMario. Others are coming. We really want to look forward to the presentation of Mr. Jackson because everybody know him as a guru when it comes to stock exchange and buying stock. So we're looking forward for a fulsome knowledge tonight from him. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
23 East.
Good evening.
23 East, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Director Bennett from the Kiwanis Club of 23 East, professional St. Andrews Online. Currently, I'm the only one currently at this time. I'm expecting others, but I'm just looking forward for a great meeting tonight. Thanks.
And thank you for coming. 23 East.
P. Junior, greetings from President Simone from the Kiwanis Club of Worthington, Kingston. Currently, we have 2 members at the meeting just now, myself, DLG Eileen, and DP Althea.
Yeah.
And so we're expecting some others and looking forward to the presentation. Hello to everyone. Congratulations, Desmond.
Okay.
Thank you, my friend DLG Eileen.
Yes. Any others from Division 23 East?
Good evening. Good evening, PE.
Good evening, a very good evening to you.
This is DP Loy from Cyber Connect. I think our president is online. I'm not sure what has happened, and we're joined by 3 other members. Looking forward to the meeting this evening, and we'll be listening.
We are glad to have you tonight with us as well. Thank you for coming. 23 East. If not, we move to our own 23 Central. 23 Central.
Hi, good evening, PE Junior. How are you doing?
I am doing well.
Great. So I am co-chair Eurydice from the Kiwanis Club of 23 Central, Surrey Online. And at the moment, we have a delegation of 2, myself and DP Desmond.
Oh.
But I am sure others will join pretty soon. But in the interim, we're going to enjoy this informative evening. And so thank you for having us, and we appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for coming. And we're sure that you'll enjoy this evening proceedings.
Yes, I've advocated.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Others from 23 Central. If not, we'll move to other Kiwanians and online at this point. Other Kiwanians online.
Good evening, PE Junior.
Good evening to you.
This is President Ashira from the Kiwanis Club of Barbican. I'm so sorry. It's trying to open my mic.
It is what we're hearing you.
Thank you.
They're hearing you loud and clear.
We're 2 in numbers so far. Looking for others joining and looking forward to an informative meeting. Thank you.
I'm sure it will, and you'll enjoy it. Thank you for coming again.
Okay.
Other Kiwanians online? What about our SLPs? I know you're always with us. SLPs?
Good evening, everyone. This is VP Daniel Heath from the Dunman Park Technical High School Key Club. We have a delegation of 9 members, including our FA Albert Douglas and VP Abonique. Apologies for President Arena, she cannot attend tonight's meeting, and we're looking forward for an informative meeting. Thank you.
We are happy to have you as usual.
Oh, boy. Hello, mechanic.
Hello? Other SLPs that would like to bring greetings?
Good night, everyone. President Kijani Williams here from the Kingston College Key Club. I currently have a delegation of 5 members, and I'm expecting more members to come. I look forward to a very interesting meeting.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, as usual.
Good evening, everyone. President Debra Heron from the St. Hughes High School Key Club here. I am currently alone, waiting for more members to join in shortly on this adventure that we are about to take. Hopefully the train does not leave them. But thank you very much for the invite, and I hope you have a great meeting.
Thank you. And I know that you'll sure enjoy the meeting. I hope that the others from your club will come soon. SLPs? What about non-Kiwanians online? Not yet a Kiwanian prospects that would like to bring greetings? If not, I'll just go back to you, President Paul.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, PE Junior. At this time, we'll move to the recognition of birthdays and anniversaries, and I'm going to call on VP Newton. VP Newton.
Did I hear somebody call me?
Yes, yes, birthday and recognition. Yes, birthday and recognition.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, good evening, everyone. For this week, we have 3 birthdays. There is Kiwanian Joseph Francis, who celebrates his birthday on the 17th of March, and there is also Molly, who is the wife of DB Evan Brown. She also celebrates her birthday on the 17th of March. And the third person we have is DP Jeff Mesado. He celebrates on Saturday, March 19. So please, if you see them or give them a call just to say happy birthday. Through President Paul, is there anyone else who is celebrating any special occasion that they want to open their microphone and let us know so we can celebrate with you? Anyone? All right, since there's no one, let me just tell you this quick secret, and then I move on, because I know everybody is waiting to listen to John Jackson. When I was in my teenage years, early 20s, I used to read every copy of the Investor's Choice, and I thought that by the time I got to 30, I would have retired, because I was following everything. But Mr. Jackson, I have to say to you, sir, I am way past 30 and I'm still working. But I really enjoyed the magazine. Back to President Paul.
Yes, thank you very much, VP Newton. Yes. Apologies for absence. I mean, I don't have any apologies. Secretary, did you have any? We're not in a DLG, Willie. Yes, you can go ahead, please.
Yeah. Repeat again, President Paul, we have an apology from Orville Lewis, DP Lloyd Barnett, Past District Trustee Ronson Eunice, DP Chris Robinson, and distinguished President Richard Reese. They are attending another meeting of higher order.
Okay, thank you very much, DLG Willie. Okay, so we're going to ask also DLG Willie to introduce one of our very own members of the club, DP Desmond Batchelor, who is vying for the candidate of LGE for 2022-2023.
Thank you, President Paul. Fellow Kiwanians, members of our service leadership program, and guests. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to announce the candidacy of distinguished President Desmond Batchelor as Lieutenant Governor-elect for Division 23 Central for the administrative year 2022-2023. DP Desmond was made a distinguished president after successfully leading Kiwanis Club of Kingston in the administrative year 2019-2020 and achieving the award of Distinguished Club. He is a dual member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and 23 Central Surrey Online. He is the club coach for Kiwanis Club of West St. Andrew and advisor to President Cheryl at Kiwanis Club of 23 Central Surrey Online. At the division level, he is co-chairman for the Service Leadership Program with special focus on Kiwanis Kids and Builders Clubs. He is also a member of the Divisional Finance Review Committee. A Kiwanian for over 26 years, distinguished President Desmond has served in many positions, including President, President-elect, Director, Chairman, Project Chairman. With his love and passion for the Service Leadership Program, he has served as an advisor to various Service Leadership Program clubs, as well as project lead for the Bugs, Terrific Kids Program, and SLP competitions. He has been a valuable source of knowledge, information, and inspiration for the Service Leadership Program members. He holds a master's in accounting and bachelor's degree, upper second-class honors in management studies from both the University of the West Indies. A retired Deputy Commissioner of Tax Administration, Jamaica. Distinguished President Desmond lectured and tutored on the University of the West Indies Distance Education Degree Program, and also the School and Continuous Studies Associate Degree and Certificate. He is currently the chairman of the Jamaican Government Pensions Association Audit Committee. He is married to Yvette, and together they have one child, Tarek. Distinguished President Desmond loves to play dominoes, I understand, if he gets six love. Spending time in the countryside, watching movies, and of course, spending quality time with his family. Distinguished President Desmond, or as he's known as Uncle Des, has a passion for transforming the lives of children in whatever way possible. His best moments as a Kiwanian is when he sees the children he has mentored over the years excelling in life and sharing their memories of the positive impact he has had on their lives. Distinguished President Desmond believes Kiwanis is a positive force in the lives of our children, and also that kids truly need Kiwanians. If elected as Lieutenant Governor-elect, he plans to work closely with the Lieutenant Governor and clubs to ensure that Division 23 Central is the premier division in the Eastern Canada and Caribbean District. Fellow Kiwanians, Sharon, as I invite distinguished President Desmond, welcome to outline his plans as Lieutenant Governor-elect for 2022 to 23. Over to you, DP Desmond.
Thank you. Thank you, DLG Willie, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. President Paul,
yes, good
fellow
evening.
Kiwanians, prospects, SLPs, guests. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'll just be as brief as possible. I hope I don't go over 8 minutes. The theme that I'll be focusing on is making a difference in the lives of our children and communities, working with the motto, serving the children of the world. Membership, growth, education, and retention. I see it that once we can have strong friendship, strong relationship, enduring friendship, and service delivery, it can be important, it can be achieved where we have cooperation, we have strong bonding, persons have a feeling of belonging among our Kiwanians, and therefore we expect to have greater cooperation in this delivery of our service, much for the benefit of our children. I love to introduce programs to develop and improve the core values of our SLPs. Our core values being character building, leadership development, inclusiveness, being compassionate, being very caring Kiwanians in the service, and caring SLPs in our service. And those programs, as we're aware, SLP programs, Cake Kids, Builders Club, Key Clubs, and so on. But some of the programs that we'd love to see more intensified would be the Terrific Kids program, public speaking competition, being involved in more in essay writing, and of course, the service project delivery. Strengthening of the BUGS program, I'd like to see that really being expanded. And at the same time, having a skills bank where we can identify persons who can assist with the guidance of those students who may have challenges with their homework. For various reasons, parents may not be there, parents may not have the skills to impart and guide our children. So where that can be done, we'd want to encourage that. So we have a skills bank to focus on that. Breakfast program. Students, I know of schools that students attending schools without breakfast. They're hungry. And of course, we know that a hungry child really is adversely affected in learning. And so as far as we can have and encourage partnership, we know it is challenging, but where we can encourage partnership among our various Kiwanis clubs, that we can assist where possible and adopt some of these schools, that is something that I would want to encourage, and at the same time work with Kiwanis clubs to achieve that. Moral suasion. We want to use moral suasion and incentives to inspire our sponsoring clubs really to attend meetings, to be there, to conduct leadership training, to organize social events. And this, of course, all of these really with the objective of transforming the lives of our children. We see programs such as the Hike to Hollowell by Kiwanis Club of Kingston, or something of the concept of Campvention by North St. Andrew. Of course, we know that what gets rewarded gets done. So that is really an encouragement that we can continue to serve our SLPs and improve their lives. Strengthen SLPs. Many of our SLPs, we feel abandoned in some cases, that our Kiwanians are not present. And so we want to encourage Circle Ks and key clubs to adopt K Kids or Builders Club, more so in particular. We know that the more senior clubs are more active. The Circle K is very active. Key clubs are active, but the Builders Club really needs some greater attention. So where they can have the greatest need that exists, this is where we'd like for these more senior SLPs to work with, to mentor, to assist with their homework programs, to assist with the service projects as best as possible, all to transform the lives of our children. And of course, I'd want to say to help them to transition at some stage to be adult Kiwanians. And I'd want to say that the discussion really has commenced as far as meeting with Circle Ks, and see how that can be a reality. Kiwanis clubs, of course, we'd want to include in our budget that not only for those who have sponsored clubs, not only for those who have SLPs, but for those without, so we can work together and they themselves can contribute towards the development, the programs of our SLPs. I'd say we encourage for us to really ensure that we have the background checks. This is a requirement of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. Kiwanis International rather, the requirement of the Kiwanis International, and we want to encourage and expand on that. So we have greater cooperation and for our Kiwanians to be present as they're there to guide our students, our SLPs. Certainly ensure that the banners are there so that the Kiwanis image is maintained. Transforming lives of our children will be the priority. In closing, will be our priority areas. Serving the children of the world as the motto. And I seek to work with all the Kiwanis clubs to partner for the best results in the interest of our children. Thank you for having me. Just to say that we have elections on the 26th of March, and we look for your support. Thank you, President Paul. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome, DP Desmond. Thank you very much for sharing your vision. And of course, we all know that you're very passionate about the SLP program as our children, our future leaders. I'm going to ask if anyone has any question for DP Desmond. Anyone? Well, DP Desmond, your presentation was very clear, and I trust that you'll be victorious on the 26th of March. Yes.
Thank you, President Paul.
Yes, thank you very much.
Me, I just apologize, and I have to step over to another club, so I will take my leave if you will permit me, President Paul.
Yes, thank you. Yes, no problem, DP Desmond. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good.
Yes, before we hear from Mr. Jackson, I'm going to ask DP Stewart to introduce our guest speaker. DP Stewart.
Thank you, President Paul. Let me just make sure I'm being heard.
Yes, you are.
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. One second. Okay. Yes, fellow Kiwanians and guests, the role of introducing our guest speaker falls on me this evening. So let me start by saying that John Jackson is a chartered accountant, but his passion is in the field of investing and economics. He has done extensive research into financial and economic matters, and in particular, stocks and the stock market, and has a wealth of knowledge on the local stock market from its inception in 1969. He has written and spoken extensively and on the subject. John advised on, coordinated, and worked on the documentation for the initial public offering of shares of JetCon Corporation that led to listing on the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange in less than 3 months, the shortest time frame ever achieved for listing on the exchange. He is the founder of the website ICinsider.com that primarily covers financial and other information within the Caribbean and Ghana in Africa. And he is also the publisher of the well-known publication Investor's Choice. He also founded the audit firm Jackson Burnett Parkinson, which is now named Crooks Jackson Burnett. He's often referred to in Jamaica as the stock market guru by many in the industry based on his in-depth knowledge of the market and his high degree of accuracy in identifying undervalued stocks that go on to deliver large gains. John uses both fundamental and technical analysis in the investment field. Based on his technical knowledge, he was able to accurately indicate from September 2014 that the Jamaica stock market was going to enjoy a big rally well ahead of the general public recognizing it. And I think a couple of years after that, you remember when our stock market was the #1 in terms of gains in the world, that happened. John started a very successful and highly sought after investment series, which started in 1987. So it was then called Investment 87. And each year it ran each year until it was Investment 2010, at which he was the main presenter on stock selection and the local stock market. John is a former KPMG, Sevens Limited, and National Sugar Company employee. He's currently also the chairman of Jamaican Teas Limited. And I saw a unique description of his role on their website as he was described as a mentor to the board. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, please open your mics and help me welcome our guest speaker for this evening, John Jackson.
Or the clapping don't sound like you're welcoming me at all.
Go, John, go.
Some people having trouble with the opening mic.
So that's okay. Thank you, Stuart, for that kind introduction. I find that when you speak, it's a precursor to other events that are coming down the road, hopefully very far off, but we hear things that are kind and very thoughtful. Sometimes we wonder whether we are in fact the person being spoken about. But thanks nevertheless, most of what you have said is in fact correct. Thank you very much for the invitation, which these days I figured, people don't want to hear about stocks or the economy. It's doom and gloom everywhere else. It's war and rumors of war. But I see that the Kiwanis Club of Kingston continues to deliver on its promise and expectation, and that of providing goodwill and peace of mind for many who are less fortunate than we are, and certainly yourselves have been. And so we want to congratulate you for your longevity and the continued focus on the less fortunate in the society. And there are quite a number of them, and many of them are in dire need of assistance. We are aware that the government cannot do everything for everybody, and therefore, as good neighbors, we have to pay some attention to our neighbors and help them where they can. I congratulate the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and all the Kiwanis clubs in Jamaica for your contribution to social well-being. And in fact, carrying out some of the biblical dictates, and I would want to say commandment of Christ, but we are to look after our neighbors and we are to look after those who are less fortunate than we are, and also to take care of our so-called enemies, because if we don't, we won't be doing very much different from other people. So those are commands that has been handed down over the ages, and the Kiwanis Club and other service clubs are carrying out some of those dictates. The stock market is an interesting vehicle, particularly in Jamaica. But before we talk about stocks, I think we need to look at some background economic issues. I won't deal with social issues tonight, but the market, as Stuart's indicated, started to move from 2014. And in 2020, I think we are all aware of the advent of COVID that interfered significantly with economic development and growth throughout the world. And Jamaica was not spared. In fact, we closed down our borders in March of 2020 and brought the tourism industry, an important industry for the country, to a halt, a virtual halt. That has now started to rebound, and other areas of the economy that suffered fallout, we are seeing a rebound in some cases, and in many cases, they have come back and surpassed what they were before the COVID hit us. Tourism, up to December, there are signs that we had clawed back about 75% of what we lost in the month of December. The first 2 months of this year, indications are that those fell back somewhat compared to 2019, as well as to the same period for 2020, because up to 2020, we were doing pretty well compared to, well, the first 2 months of 2020. So the indication that I read into this paper is that the numbers for March suggest that if the trend continues, we will be back at 2019 levels and probably surpass it. And that is importantly good news for the country, because it means not only increased foreign exchange inflows, it also means that the industry will be available to employ more persons, which is one of the critical elements of that the society needs to do. Employment has reached record levels, the last numbers that were reported, and I would expect that the first quarter of this year, the numbers for unemployment would have fallen further, and employment would have increased to reach record levels. In some industries, they're talking about shortage of workers or inability to find workers easily. That is going to become an increasing theme going forward as the economy continues to expand and grow. We have on the negative side, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that interest rates were very low for a prolonged period of time, the lowest on record at any rate, and now they have been hiked. I've been critical of the central bank in the past for keeping the rates as low as they did for such a long period of time. And they were late in adjusting interest rates upwards, having delayed the process for so long. The data is quite conclusive. They should have started moving to raise interest rates from earlier last year when inflation was getting out of hand. And that was very evident from very early in the year. The latest increase of 1.5% is just an amazing development, and one that just suggests panic and the fact that they failed to respond when they ought to. So that is a factor that is in place, but has raised interest rates considerably. How long that will last is left to be seen. What is sure is that up to January, the inflation numbers for the last 3 months had fallen and was in line with the Bank of Jamaica's projections of 4 to 6% per annum. So it was not that inflation was getting out of hand. Yes, there was a concern that the war between Russia and the Ukraine, or Russia's war in Ukraine is more apt, was going to create some amount of dislocation. How long that dislocation will be is left to be seen. But one has to be concerned that worldwide inflation has actually gone up considerably, and that is pushing up interest rates on an international basis. Evidently, at some point in time, it is going to create a slowdown in economic activity and a fall in prices. So some of the prices that are there in commodities will probably not last as long. I give you that background because those are important things in considering stock market and investment markets and their behavior. One of the things that we have done, and people will cast their minds back to the 1990s and 2000s and refer to the instability and the high interest rates that existed in those 2 decades. This time, of course, is quite different. We are cutting fiscal deficit, and the expectations are the numbers will get into the low 90s. And as we cut the fiscal deficit, it will mean less interest costs, relatively speaking, for government services. Therefore, mean more resources will be available to do other things. It is not surprising that although we have contraction in the economy and contraction with revenues in 2020, the government didn't increase taxes, and they were able to do a number of things that we would not have been able to do a decade or so ago. So room is being created for spending in other areas other than debt servicing. And we don't have to go about borrowing money to do some of the things that we need to increase amounts of money. And it's important, that's very important in considering what is going to happen, what's happening to the stock market and what is going to happen in the future. It means that the environment is being established for a greater level of stability going forward. One of the problems in the past is that the market would go on for a period of time and then interest rates had to be hiked, and that choked off growth in the economy. Growth in the economy as well as in the stock market. When we have lower interest rates, lower fiscal deficits, the future is far more predictable than otherwise. And that is an important element for people to think of investing on a longer term basis. And it is probably not considered terribly important to Jamaicans now because people can buy stocks. Example is that the IPO JFP Limited that was listed yesterday came to the market at $1 and it traded today up to $1.68. Edufocal, a relatively newcomer to the market, a different type of vehicle than we have been used to. It has virtually no assets, no fixed assets, the traditional way that people tend to think of businesses. So it's pretty much an intellectual asset-based company. And it means a totally new dynamic shift in the capital market, where a company, a youngster can come to market and raise $130, $140 million and could have raised more with a company which is a great deal of an idea thing rather than something that is can be physically felt. And that stock, which came to market at $1, close today at $31, and at the end of the day, there are 32 million shares. Stock. So one can expect it to probably do just as well. So several examples in the marketplace where companies are on chart at the beginning of the year, the top 15 stocks in both markets, the main and junior markets. And of those stocks that we selected, and there are two other additions, throughout the year, we add stocks to the list. So IPO, for example, FESCO, that came to market last year, would have been added to the list as a buy-rated stock. On the basis that had a great potential to grow. That stock came to market, I think, at 82 cents. It traded last week or 2 weeks ago at $8.27, $8.45 at the high. To give an example, our selection for the junior market delivered a 64% return last year, when the overall market average, junior market average, went up just about 30%. And included in that list was Caribbean producers. That went up, I think, 500% last year. And the main market selection we had went up about 15%, when the market overall went up 2 or 3%. So it illustrates that there money can be made in the market, and many people don't take it very seriously. But a lot of people live off the income from the market. Some people from dividends, and some people dividends and realized gains. It's not something to be taken lightly. When I started to focus on stocks, the stock exchange was housed at the Bank of Jamaica, and they were making no money. And it moved eventually to where they are now. And I think the last profit figure is, I think, $500 million or 600 million. I don't quite remember the figure. But that's a stock that is likely to be a growth stock for the future as the capital market continues to expand, as more people, more individuals, younger individuals are attracted to the market. When I started to invest, certainly back in 1986, 87, when NCB went to market, I think the market had about 10,000 investors. The latest figures we heard is over 200,000 investors participate in the market at the moment. That's a dramatic change, and it shows what education can in fact do. And education, not necessarily formal education. The amount of writings and broadcast and telecasting, etc., have brought people into the market that their parents, many of them, their parents were not involved in the market, but they have been to school, they are read, and they've seen what can be achieved by investing in the market. And I'm very delighted to know that a lot of youngsters are attracted to the market. My philosophy is invest in stocks, and if you invest in stocks and do it right, you can do enormous good for yourself. The philosophy that most people have, they buy a house first, and they struggle in buying the house, when the approach should be buy stock first, make money, use some of the money, and buy the house, and you still have the stocks remaining to invest and continue that double barrel approach in investment. The market as it stands now happens to be undervalued. and it's going to get more undervalued this year, providing we don't get instability, significant instability in the economy. I expect the junior market will probably be, well, the forecast we did earlier this year is probably 60% growth in the market. It's up just about 20% so far this year. The main market should grow. I think it will grow later in the year, but the growth in the main market, I don't expect to exceed 20% for the year. But those are mature companies, and they are more, generally speaking, higher priced, relatively speaking, than the junior market. But the junior market companies are the ones that are growing the profits very strongly, and that's where the money is to be made. Many persons have not focused on it, but it's simple. The smaller you can grow your profits at 30, 40, 50% per annum. You're big like Grace Kennedy, it's difficult to do that consistently over time, if you can do that at all. And that's the advantage of the junior market companies, particularly ones that are expanding. People need to understand that there are two critical things that determine what happens to stock prices: profits and interest rates. Profits is critical because if you're growing the profits, eventually the company is worth more, and therefore people will be prepared to pay more for it than if it's growing at a slow pace or don't grow at all. Interest rates, people will move funds from one investment to another, and be the interest rate being stocks and shares, be it real estate or whatever else there is to invest in. And people will, maybe not in a scientific way, but they are doing comparison shopping in terms of investment. And we should do the same thing as well. So what do we do? We just pick a stock because we like it? No. We need to look at what are the driving forces for stock values. One, stocks that have low P ratios that most people are not attracted to are some of the best stocks to purchase because they have the potential to grow much faster than the ones that are popular. So low price earnings ratio. The price earnings ratio is a critical element in determining the valuation of stocks. It's one thing that brings all stock values to one common denominator. So because one company has 10 million shares, another one has 5 million shares, make it earning the same profit. You can't compare one stock price with the other, just like that. You use that common denominator, the price earnings ratio. How many years are people prepared to buy the profits that a company is generating for? And the lower the P ratio, the quicker you can get back your rate of return. You can get back your money that you invest in stocks, right? The other factors people should consider, some people, I read a report that a young lady said she bought a stock and it didn't do well for her. And I'm saying to myself, but why would she go and buy one stock? I don't know if she has anything more in her portfolio, but the way she couched the message suggested she didn't have anything else. So it is important, anything we do, have a diversified portfolio because we don't exactly know what the future is going to be. And when you hold one stock and that stock doesn't perform and others are performing, even if the stock price doesn't go down, you have lost in real terms. So it also means that if you have a diversified portfolio and want to take some money off the table, you have a wider selection of stocks that you can choose from to sell. Sometimes the demand for one stock is not the same as another. So diversification is important. The need for investors to get proper information, good information. And one of the keys to that is to follow the history of the people who are giving you advice on the stocks. It's rather interesting that, and Stuart Spencer can relate to this. There's an article on ICinsider.com website where we compared what happened in the unit trust. The unit trust, the best performing local unit trust last year went up 10.8%. Actually did better than the composite index of the market, which is 2%. At QWI, I think, and I might be corrected, I think our portfolio went up something like 20%, and the stock price I think went up 15, was the fifth or sixth or seventh best performing stock on the market. So what people tend to do is to invest and leave the funds there. And it's quite amazing that the 3 or 4 top performing, Barita, Sagicor, Scotia Investments, am I leaving out any? Are the Barita, Sagicor, Scotia are the 3 top performing, most consistent unit trusts going back 10 years or more. And they beat the market by a wide margin, wide enough margin. And you ask yourself, why would people keep money in over a long period of time in a unit trust or in any investment that is underperforming by a wide margin? The leaders, and it makes no sense. But this is what happens, that people invest, and they invest large amounts of money, and they don't spend the time to see what the returns are and compare them with what's available in the marketplace. So one of the critical things with stock market investment, and one of the reasons why we have this top 10 stock or top 15 stock, is that we rank them. And if you look at the website, you'll see the highest likely performer to the lowest of the 10. And we find that ranking stocks is an excellent way of weeding out stocks that are likely to be non-performers for a period of time. And you focus on the ones at the top. And as the year progresses, some of those at the top will fall out. For example, we had 2 weeks ago, we had identified Tropical Battery. We upgraded the earnings to 22 cents per share, and the stock was at the top of the list. In a matter of a week, it went up 32% and fell out of it, but didn't fall out of the top 10. It almost fell out of the top 10. We had cargo handlers that was top of the chart, or certainly went in the top 10, high in the top 10, and it gained 32%, 33% this past week, and fell out of the top 10. So there are movements in and out of those charts, and they can be used not as gospel, but as a guide as to where opportunities may well be in the market. So a lot of people do follow it because clearly they find that there's some amount of intelligence there. One of my friends who heads one of the brokerage houses, he sent me a correction one day, and I called him. I said, "But why? I don't expect you to be reading the website." And he said, "No, he tries to follow everybody because he finds that his own persons don't have all of the answers. Answers may be elsewhere." So it's useful to find out what other people are doing and what other people are saying. And by that, over time, we know who might give you the better answer versus another. I understand, ladies and gentlemen, it's war, and we are not quite sure how things are going to pan out. It appears that the COVID issue seems to be, if not conquered, maybe we have done fairly well. And on that subject, I'd like to just caution Jamaicans. Jamaicans have been told that the take-up of vaccine is poor. Is only 20% of the population. The fact of the matter, you can use data anyhow you want to use data. The reality is that we are 40% officially vaccinated, and if we add to it, those people have taken one shot, close to 50% of the target audience. And we have not yet decided to vaccinate children of under 12. So it doesn't make sense to include the data in the stats at this point in time. So you're closer to 50%. And what we don't know, at least I don't know, I haven't found anybody who can tell me how many Jamaicans got vaccinated abroad who are not counted in those numbers. And some people have it 100,000, 200,000. I would suggest Jamaicans who were going to the United States or countries where the vaccine were available in the early part of the year before it was available in Jamaica would have gotten vaccinated overseas. That number is I believe is quite significant. The data also shows that And if you look at the booster shot, the booster shot is growing slowly. It's indicative that people want to be vaccinated, but they're taking their time. And the numbers of people who have been vaccinated, I think the latest number, we are up to nearly 670,000 persons who are fully vaccinated, and there are nearly 120 that have one shot. And that number, the number of vaccinated keep on growing. The number of persons who have one shot have almost stagnated. So the process continues, and that's partially one of the reasons I believe why the level of vaccination is down at 20s and 30s at the moment. I will take my leave of addressing you at this point in time, and if there are any questions, I will make my best attempt to answer them as best as I can. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jackson, for that presentation.
I'd like to come in here, President Paul.
Yes,
John, just as you were speaking about that IPO that came out at $1,
Yes.
you had a little bit of mic interruption. You were kind of coming in and out.
Yes.
So I wondered if you could just go over that part. I didn't quite get the name, and
Okay.
I think you came on at $1 and you said, yeah, that part of it. If you could go over
Fine.
that section for me.
Yes, two IPOs came to the market at $1. One is JFP, which was the former name was Jamaica Fiber Products, I think, Metro Siaga run company. It came at $1 and listed on Monday, went to $1.30 or $1.32. And today it closed, I think, at $1.68. It looks like it may go higher. The other one is EduFocal, which is a website company that focuses on doing education training online. And it came at $1 and it closed today at $1.32 with a small amount of shares. And there were 32 million shares on the bid at $1.32 just before the market closed. So there is clearly strong demand for both of them. And I think the first day for JFP, it traded 40 odd million units or $40 odd million. I can't quite remember which number, but it was a leading stock yesterday. But if you visited the website, the story is there. You'll see exactly what happened. Certainly yesterday. The one for today is not yet posted. Well, some of it is posted. There's a report that posts slightly after market closes. So that has some element of it, and it has the stock prices. So we have a report that ranks the stocks on an industry basis based on what our consideration is. And so you can see the average for the market. For this, you see the average for the market, you can see the average for the individual industry and the individual stocks. So you can compare one stock in the industry against other. Another report we have, which is a daily report, just have all the stocks listed sequentially, alphabetically, with a P ratio, earnings per share, dividend income. So you can see dividend yield for people interested in those things. So we cover a pretty decent spectrum of what investors, or we think investors want. So over to you, Stuart, or President.
Okay. What are you looking at in terms of interest rates as a projection? In the sense that you said the Bank of Jamaica, having reacted, the 1.5% increase is probably a panic sign. What do you expect them to do in the future? And remind me how often they consider, interest rate changes, the intervals.
Interest rate changes seem to be every 2 months. And the next look they're going to take is at the end of this month. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved it up 50 basis points again. I don't think the target is 46%. I don't think that's warranted, but you know, they are looking on they are flying the plane. They have the instrument before them, so they will do what they figure needs to be done. I don't expect a dramatically increases to take place beyond, because the inflation numbers, I mean, I know that the oil price hike, the sudden hike in oil prices will create some amount of problems for inflation for a month or two, but it is possible that those prices may come down and ease inflation. You know, it's anybody's guess at the moment. But certainly my guess at any rate, I wouldn't put my neck on the block as to exactly what's going to happen. It's more a hopeful situation, and one where I saw inflation coming down, moderating on a month-by-month basis. I would think that the worst theoretically seems to have been behind us, but it's you know, they have inflation overseas. We're importing a lot of goods, commodity. You know, their commodity prices have gone up, so there are a number of variables that are actually moving. I think the short-term issue is one, the longer-term issue is the more important thing for what's going to happen to stocks on the road.
Okay, thank you.
I see a question in the chat, but I wanna say first, are you limited in terms of, you know, the protocols that about giving financial advice? I mean, I don't know how it is said, but sometimes persons who are giving presentations can't give individual advice.
I'm not aware of any such restrictions.
Are you? I don't know if you.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not paying for advice. I'm not taking payment for advice.
Okay. Okay. I just preempted that because there's a question in the chat. Says for Mr. Jackson, what are the? No, not that one. Said he bought key insurance for $8.07. It is now down to $4.70. Should I hold on to it or sell it? That's the question. Yes, he should sell it. I'm not sure. Yeah, that you could answer that.
One of the things about trading stocks is that when you get disappointment, you need to move fast on it. One of the issues, I'll quote you an example. There's somebody who bought a particular stock, I won't call the name. He bought it in the $3 and $4 region. And I'm not sure what motivated him, but he's a young investor. And when he presented the case, I said, but you should never have bought the stock at those prices. So totally ridiculous. The company was going nowhere. And that stock eventually collapsed. I said, sell the stock and reinvest the money in something else that will grow. And like Saul's wife, he felt like he kept on looking back. While the stock is now trading at struggling at $1 in the $1.30, $1.20, $1.30 range. It has been so for a long time. So he has not only lost on the stock, but he has lost the opportunity to recover those losses. Key is an interesting stock that could perform. It's not one of my top selections, but sometimes you have made an error and you have to make an assessment, which is what I think is being done now, as to whether you get rid of it and do something else with it. One of the interesting things about the market, and when you are at it as long as I have been, and I read and listen to various things overseas, etc. My company owns general accident, virtually own no key insurance. We believe general accident is a superior investment to key. But what we find is that Key tend to struggle for the first 3 quarters of the year. And in the last quarter, when the numbers are about to come forth, it will move. And you'll probably find the same thing with Key. Remember, however, that Grace is in control of Key, and they have been making moves. And the last set of results that came out for last year exhibit certain positive in it, that if those things carry over to this year, you could get a fairly exciting investment. I would say if one can hold on to it, I think it's probably worthwhile doing so. Not a guarantee that it will recover fully, but I think it has the opportunity to expand with the Grace Kennedy backing behind it.
I don't see any hands up in the chat, but please, the floor is open.
Yes.
And members of the audience are invited to ask the questions. Go right ahead.
Yes. I see one question in the chat from Mr. Jackson from President Office from Kiwanis Club of Downtown Kingston. He's asking, what are the parameters to identify performing stocks on the stock market?
The ones performing or the ones that have performed? But you don't know, because I would reword the question in my answer, that the profits, if profits are growing, one wants to see I don't know if, you know, I'm sure many of you guys and ladies have taken planes, and every now and again you get in the air and the plane drops. And
That's good.
That's a good analogy.
That's a good one.
Right. And you would much prefer, apart from my niece who used to be a air hostess, she likes when the plane, she tells me, gets into turbulence and what have you. Now, that's exciting. But for most passengers, they'd much rather a smooth flight than one that jerks them up. And therefore, if you were to plot the movement of a plane through turbulence, you're seeing going up and down, up and down. And what you want really in stock selection, and look for companies that have had a consistent performance and profits. So you want profits that are growing pretty much on an annual basis. You don't want 1 year profits to grow at 50% and the next year it falls 50%. That's a recipe for this. Well, not a recipe for disaster, but a recipe for disaster for many investors, unless you're a trader and know when to buy at the bottom. I mean, when Stuart introduced me, he spoke about I do assessment of stocks and I using technical analysis as well as fundamentals. Fundamental is looking at the profit performance of the company and that type of thing. Sales, profits, growth in profits, etc. Technical is looking at the performance over time. And one of the things I wanted to have done is to have shown tonight the two graphs of the main market and the junior market. And you can see the junior market, and you can look at the website. There are some charts there, if you can find the stories, where the junior market is clearly in an ascending direction. There are two trend lines. There's a support line, which is about one that lends support to the stock moving higher. And there's another line that is the top one, and markets tend to move between the two lines. And over time, they create this pattern, moving the price. It's like a snake. The market tends to snake itself up or down. So it never goes in a straight line. Well, occasionally, like what happened in the COVID time, it drops. But generally speaking, all things being equal, it will tend to go up and down, up and down. Some individuals are able to spot the trend and sell at the top and buy at the bottom. And the stock is then said to be trading in a channel. it's like water going through down a channel. So it has a two end of the channels keeping the water in. And that's what tends to happen at times with the markets and individual stocks. And sometime after a while, there are certain patterns that develop where the stock is about to break out, up or down from the channel. And those persons who can actually read those things well can make lots of money. And they don't focus on whether the company is profitable or not. They're just focusing on what investors are doing and react to that and be ahead. So in 2014 or 2013, late 2013, I think it was, we looked at the Jamaican markets and saw where the pattern was clearly one where that bottomed out and it was moving higher and continued to move higher. And so we were able to say to our readers from September, August, September, we're going into a bull market. We said the same thing last year with the junior market. And I think we said the same thing this year, that the market was poised to go up quite strongly. I think the market started about 3,000, low 3,000 level this year. That's a junior market. And we had identified that it was going to hit a record high. The record high before this year was in 2019 at 3,600 and something, 660 odd points. It's not just over 4,000 points. It went up as high as 4,165 points or 68 points a few weeks ago. So that market is on a high and the main market is struggling to recover from the fall it had in 2020. So sometimes those are features. For example, the P ratio is a classic measure to determine which stocks are likely to perform very well. So low P ratio, a stock like JMMB that is selling under 10 times this year's earnings or next year's earnings it may not take off tomorrow, but it sure is going to deliver wonderful returns to people who have the patience. Sometimes we have to be patient, and patience can pay wonders. In 2019, we wrote and told people that they should load up on Caribbean producers in preparation for 2021 or 2020 when the market would have, 2021 when the company would come back, perform, and it performed in an incredible way. Other people are skeptical. I'm skeptical of our selection of it, but we are not fazed by people being skeptical of some of the things that we say publicly. We've lived long enough to recognize that a lot of persons who see things differently oftentimes come around to accepting the position that we have taken. But we make mistakes from time to time, we are human. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I say the basic thing, consistent profit performance over time, and that illustrates quality of management as well. That's what it does. That's what that is indicative of, and low P ratios. I think if you stick with that formula, over time you'll come out winners. I think there's some other questions.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, President Paul.
Yes, there are two more, Mr. Jackson. Director Warren McDonald is asking, which financial publication would you recommend for good information on local stocks? And do you still have a financial publication out?
Well, all our efforts are placed on icinsider.com, and that is updated on a daily basis. I can't speak to the publications nationally. I don't know all of them. I think we try to deliver to investors, and there are several investors who swear by a lot of what we put out, and I guess a number of them have made money from it when other people have. It's interesting. I'm told that an investor called our office last year and commended us he lives overseas and he was trying to do research on stocks in Jamaica. And he said, our website is the only one that was worthwhile looking at for him to get information he wanted on the various stocks. And you know, that's the best that I can say. And people have to, there are a number of brokers who have websites, you can go there. I don't have there any physical publication. And see what they say, stack up the Observer carried a report a few weeks ago comparing the brokers and our investment. And I see some that were quoted, and I just wondered how people arrived at some of those selections. But you know, it's a free market, and we all have, we can say what we want to say. In the final analysis, what the results turn out to be will be the determining factor as to whether people accept one version of the future versus another version of the future. But I would say that, you know, the fact that some people, well, visit our website. I would recommend, if you have not been a regular visitor, look at the offerings that we have, and look at what we did last year versus look at what we recommend last year versus how things turned out to be, and see. I mean, I thought if I did 65% return on my investment every year, I'd be very happy. Most people will be very happy for it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson, for imparting all that knowledge about stocks, and you're dubbed the guru of the stock market. You know, we truly appreciate all that information. But to do the official vote of thanks, I'm going to call on Kiwanis Zuri. Kiwanis Zuri.
Good. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Mr. John Jackson, on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, the Brothers of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, and the extended Kiwanis family, and all persons present at the meeting, I take this time to officially say thank you, express our gratitude for coming and sharing with us this evening in what I will consider a comprehensive crash course on the stock market and trading advice, and providing us with another avenue for revenue generation. I'm sure the persons who were on have learned this is an area that is sometimes very difficult for us to even think about, and many persons are afraid of venturing in this area, but you have provided some insight, and I'm sure some comfort for persons that is not as difficult as it may seem. Again, on behalf of the Kiwanis family, thank you for coming and sharing. And if you look on the screen now, we have a certificate of appreciation for you, and I'm sure Sir Spencer will arrange for you to get the physical copy shortly. Again, thank you.
You're welcome, most welcome. And if I adjust my last word, if you don't mind, I didn't study stock market as a youngster. I did accounting, and I have a thirst for knowledge in the areas that I'm interested in. So essentially, it's not difficult. People just have to follow, just learn and spend a little time. If you have millions of dollars invested, why not learn about it and know how to manage it? So that's what I'll say in closing. Thanks for your thoughtful thoughts, and wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jackson. And could you just remind us the name of the magazine? Is IC Insider?
There's no magazine. It's a website. So the website is what you see in the background, icinsider.com.
Okay, thank you very much. DP Kingsley, your question is answered. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jackson.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Fred.
John.
Yes. At this time, we'll have our Sergeant at Arms, and I'm calling on DP Earl Spencer. DP Earl.
I'm with you. I'm with you, President Paul.
Yes.
Just two little things I noticed, and they are quite unrelated. I noticed when one of our attendees, I saw KCOB. I'm so one-track minded. I wondered, and then I realized it was Kiwanis Club of Barbecues. And then I noticed how I was wondering, it was the lights in Mr. Jackson's room, why it looked like he had on a purple shirt. I can't help noticing these things, but I like to mention that. And I have a special affinity to purple and North Street. Anyway, after such a serious talk, I don't think I can give jokes. But anyway, I only know this little one, and I suppose it had some investment in it. This little boy had been pestering his parents to take him to the zoo. And the mother eventually, they usually get away, they persuaded the reluctant father to take him to the zoo. So when they came back, they looked tired but happy. And they said, "How was your day? How was your day?" He says, I enjoyed it, but Dad enjoyed it even more when one of the animals came home 30 to 1. I trust you got that one.
Yes.
I can't explain it to everybody. He did not go to the zoo. He went to the racetrack.
The racetrack. Yes.
Yeah. I don't like to have to explain things, I'm not going anymore anyway. The subject was too serious for my brain to switch to light to life. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, thank you very much, DPR. Can I ask for a motion of to move a motion for extension of 5 minutes so that we can finish up on our meeting? Members of the
So move, President. So move.
Seconded?
Seconded.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to call on DLG Willie to give us the notices and announcements. DLG Willie?
Thank you, President Paul. There are a number of announcements, so I'm requesting members to listen attentively. Michael is putting on a paint and sip joint project with the Edna Manley College Circle K on Saturday, March 19th at 4 p.m. There is a registration fee. The flyer has been circulated in the WhatsApp group. Just a reminder that Builders Club Week is from the 21st of March to the 25th. It will, however, commence with a virtual church service at 10 a.m. on March the 20th. Unfortunately, that's the same day as the present church service, which has been held at the Boulevard Baptist Church, and that starts at 9 a.m. That's the present church service, March the 20th. Reason being is we celebrate our 50th anniversary on March the 24th. Also, next week, Saturday, with Divisional Council meeting and second quarter Divisional Council meeting, and the election of Lieutenant Governor and Lieutenant Governor-elect for 2022 to 2023. A reminder that flyers are now being circulated regarding the All-Island Convention and Bahia Principe from July the 30th to August 1. A reminder that the district convention registration is now open. That is from August the 19th to the 21st. Regarding the clubbing opportunities, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. we'll be at Kiwanis Club of Young Professionals supporting DP Desmond in his bid to become the Lieutenant Governor-elect. And at 7 o'clock, we move over to Kiwanis Club of West St. Andrew, where DP Desmond will be as well. On Thursday, March the 17th, we'll be at Kiwanis Club of North St. Andrew, where I'll be introducing distinguished President Desmond. And next week, Monday, we'll be at his second club, Kiwanis Club of 23 Central, Surrey Online, at 7 p.m. President Paul, those are the notices and announcements. You might want to ask our guests if they have any announcements to do so now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Secretary DLG Willie. And just to remind our members as well that this Saturday coming at 9 a.m., we'll have our feeding program at the Mary Atkins shelter at 65 Hanover Street. We will put it in the chat, in our group chat on WhatsApp for a reminder so that our members can come and join as we do our community service. Are there any members or participants that wish to highlight any announcements at this time? Well, if not, I will move to DP Stewart to give us a thought for the week.
Okay, thank you, President Paul. Okay, I have two thoughts as usual. The first one is people who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. And the second one is if serving people is beneath you, leadership is above you and success is beyond you. And those are my two thoughts. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, DP Stewart. Well, at this time, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for our meeting. I mean, I know you have choices and everything, and we deeply appreciate your presence here. I'm going to ask that we raise our toast to Kiwanis International and to Jamaica Land We Love. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston is now terminated at 8:36 p.m.
Good presentation, John. Good presentation.
Yes, very good presentation. Yes, thanks.
And yeah, go ahead, guys. Whoever's speaking, go ahead.
No, I'm just extending my personal thanks to Mr. Jackson on the excellent presentation. And please do pass on my regards to your dear wife. Thank you.
Yeah, John, we play a little music after the meeting. So if you have the time, you can always stick around for a little bit. You're welcome. To do so.